it's your girl Ronee, and you're listening to Rise and Shine 209, the KXVS, the Voice of Stockton Morning Show.
Hello, welcome to Chef Tobias Cooks, here where we have kitchen conversations with professional chefs, cooks, home cooks, bakers, and people that just can't cook. So join us every week for our kitchen conversations and learn a thing or two. And I don't burn nothing in my kitchen.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
My name is Josh, and you're listening to KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM. Catch us live on Facebook, YouTube, and the TuneIn app.
Da 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 da, shabba da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da dee da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da be da do da da da, shabba da be da da da, yeah, shabba dee da, Chef Tobias Cooks.
Good morning, Thursday morning. Good morning, Chef Tobias Cooks with Kitchen Conversation here with the Voice of Stockton.org. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning.
Yes, I would like to say hello, May.
Hello, May.
Yeah.
Okay.
Goodbye, April. Hello, May. Yes, May. I love May. The month of May. Of course. It's my birthday month.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
It has lots of great holidays in it. So it's my birthday and all of the holidays. But you know what the most special part about it is?
What's that?
My birthday falls on Memorial Day.
Oh. Extra food.
Yes. The story is my mom told me that she was pregnant with me on Memorial Day and she went into labor. And she was so upset because she didn't get barbecue.
So now you eat it for her.
I ruined her barbecue. It's like 44 years later, and she still, out of all the things that she have to say about my birthday, she said, I didn't get any barbecue. So every year, we always barbecue. So shout out to my mom, Catherine Tosin. She is in the wonderful state of Virginia visiting my beautiful sister. So yes, Mom, my birthday falls on Memorial Day, and I will be barbecuing. Yes, are you looking forward to barbecue?
Of course.
Yeah. I think we talk about barbecue and crab a lot on this show, right?
I think that's a yes.
I do have other things that I'm interested in, but I think barbecue will probably take the top 5.
Barbecue and crab take the top.
Yes, and you know, my stepfather is wonderful at barbecue. Oh my goodness. And he always had a challenge for Memorial barbecuing for us, of course, my birthday. Because I have 3 sisters. 2 of my sisters, my younger sister, one of them became a vegetarian. The other one was allergic to shellfish. And I didn't eat pork or beef. So he had a huge challenge at barbecue time. And then, of course, me, it's my birthday. I'm expecting a birthday cake. I always act surprised that, you know, I'm going to get a birthday cake, right? So I saw them with the birthday cake. I heard them say they're going to get me the birthday cake because it's always the same cake every year because I like strawberries. Why do I like strawberries? Because it's May. Makes sense, right?
It all comes together.
So I will always walk in like I'm surprised, like, for me, and no one would say surprise. They would just stand there and look at me like, you know it's a barbecue, you know it's your birthday, you know we had a strawberry cake.
Yeah, why you still playing?
So shout out to my family. Hello, May. They all know that Nicole loves May. Here come birthday. May is a beautiful month because we have Mother's Day. Yes. Happy Mother's Day, early Mother's Day. We have Memorial Day, as I mentioned, and we also have graduations.
Yes.
Yes. So the great thing about May is it's a time to eat out. This can also make a great dent in your budget as well. So if you're eating out for the month of May, you're treating your family and your friends. Brunch is always a good thing to do. May, there's wonderful brunches that are out here in the 209 on the Miracle Mile. We have beautiful, great brunches that you can always take your mom to, the graduate to do a early graduation party for lunch. Early dinners are great as well, especially on the weekends, midweeks. You can have people over for about, at 5 or 6 and do an early lunch. You could do pasta, you could do salads, you could do some barbecue meats, some brisket, some chicken.
Links.
Oh, see. Okay, we moving into the 4th of July.
Hey.
You mentioned Lincoln kind of cramped my style right there, kind of cramped my style. I only do links on the 4th of July. Remember, categorize our foodiness, right?
Well, you can categorize that. I'll eat that whenever.
Also, month I love for the past 10 years that I have been here in the Delta. I've always taken my family to the Strawberry Festival. Yes, so please get out this May. If you have not been to Strawberry Festival, please go to the Strawberry Festival. It is just a wonderful time. May is just a great time. Springtime. Lots of people have allergies, so kind of stay a little bit away from outside, just a little bit for the allergies. But brunches are great, lunches are great. Remember, early dinners. Do an early dinner for a graduation party, Mother's Day. It's wonderful. It'll work out. Another thing for May that a lot of people do, because we're entering in vacation season, is potlucks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you bring for a potluck?
Paper plates and napkins.
You know what? I like that.
You like that?
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do that the next potluck that someone invited me to. I probably get kicked out.
Or some taco salad.
Oh, Cinco de Mayo. See, I was going to mention, you ruined it. I was going to do the big Cinco de Mayo thing.
You still could have. I mean,
yes.
taco salad can be eaten at any point.
Yes, I love Cinco de Mayo because I told you I love tacos, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, listen, I'm from the Bay Area. Cinco de Mayo is huge in the Bay Area.
That was one of your date ideas. Remember the taco bar?
It is the taco bar. Yes, it is. We are huge on Cinco de Mayo in the Bay Area. It is just a huge holiday for us. Tacos. I'm sorry. Tacos. Someone tried to convince me last night to have lumpia. I'm like, no.
Lumpia and Cinco de Mayo?
No.
Or just lumpia, period?
Maybe if it's chicken adobo taco, then we got a party, right? We got
that sounds pretty good.
Yes. Well, yeah, so if anyone has some chicken adobo, tacos, hit with some coleslaw, hit me and Alex up, We're not begging, but yes, so Cinco de Mayo is actually one of my favorite holidays next to Memorial Day and Mother's Day in May because of the tacos, the great food, the music. It is just a live entertainment, and I love it. So make sure you hit up the 209, find out what Cinco de Mayo celebrations are going on. Pretty much all the restaurants and bars are doing Cinco de Mayo. They're doing tacos and bars. So please, let's eat 209. Let's support Stockton. Let's support all the celebrations and nonprofits that's going on as well. There are a lot of things going on the 5th of May as well. There is the Kentucky Derby that's going on. So if you could get out and support that wonderful event on Chef Tobias Cooks, I do have some of those events posted that you could get on now on the 5th of May and support your local events. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get a break. We're going to come back. I'm really, really excited. Have a guest here today, and I'm not going to spoil it for you. So just come back in about, maybe 2 minutes?
Okay.
So one more thing. May, Mother's Day, Memorial's Day, Cinco de Mayo, graduations, hit up the brunches, lunches, and do early dinners. That way you have time to spend with your family, your out-of-town guests. And if you do hit up a potluck, I had a whole bunch of things that you could do for a potluck, but I think I like the plates and napkins.
And forks.
And forks and spoons kind of idea. Yeah. Maybe get fancy and bring some strawberries and flavor water.
There you go. That takes some time to make.
Yes. Okay, see you in a bit.
You're listening to the Voice of Stockton on KXVS.
It's been a long week working downtown. Gotta kick off the dust and get the powder shoes out, yeah. Where to start, channel smoky in my glass. Gotta hit up the crew, Friday nights on draft, yeah. Cast iron sliders, yeah, they're stock full of flavor. Gonna save me for later when the night is done. On the rooftop, gazing down on stars. On the water, talking dreams and memories. And it always goes back to the port city, yeah. It's the port city, yeah. It's the port city we love, yeah. The port city, yeah, it's the port city, yeah, it's the port city we love. Wash your blues away on a Delta day. In the port city we love, oh, oh. And lay your load down in my hometown, in the port city there. Oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. The port city we love. Oh, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. The port city we love, yeah. Stealing time and miracles on the mile. Asking Paul a bottle of wines in style. And laugh the night away. I got miles and miles of memories running through European trees. Cause every time I leave, my city sings to me. Yeah. The port city, yeah, it's the port city, yeah, it's the port city we love. Oh, the port city, yeah, it's the port city, yeah, it's the port city we love. Wash your blues away on a Delta day. In the port city we love. Oh, oh, and lay your load go down in my hometown, in the port city there. Oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. The port city we love. Oh, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. The port city we love. Yeah.
For over 70 years, Smokey Bear has asked you to use fire responsibly.
Fire is due to an unattended campfire.
Go time.
Here's how you can stay on the front lines of preventing wildfires. Always watch your campfire before leaving. Drown it, stir it, drown it again, and feel that the fire is out cold.
Oh, bullseye!
And you won't need a visit from Dusty's team.
Copy that.
Visit SmokeyBear.com for more fire prevention tips. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state foresters, and the Ad Council.
Here at KXVS, broadcasting from Stone Tube Studios, is the voice of Stockton.
Da 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 da, shabba da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da dee da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da be da do da da da, shabba da beat da da da, yeah, shabba da dee da, Tobias good.
Hello, hello, hello. Chef Tobias cooks with Kitchen Conversation, the voice of Stockton.org. We are back on this Thursday, May 3rd. So, earlier, I said that May is my favorite month. I love May. It's my birthday month.
Ah, I get it.
But also, it's all of the holidays, too. You know, like Cinco de Mayo, Mother's Day, graduation,
End of
Memorial.
semester.
Yeah.
Exactly. Summer break.
Yes.
Bring it on. I've got another week or so.
Yes, that is very true. Yes, yes, yes. So, just before we dive into this, because I am so excited. I truly am. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation and for coming on.
It was a long journey to get here, about 5 or 6 blocks.
This is going to be a good interview. So, I am originally from the Bay Area. I came here about 15 years ago, followed my husband, good wife, and while I was here in the Delta, I ended up going back to culinary school.
Yeah.
At 37 years old, pregnant with my 4th child. So I started my second career as culinary. And so being here in the Delta and being able to be a professional chef, it's just been great. I've met so many people, lots of different backgrounds of people, and I've gotten to know the different cuisines that are here. And so anyway, to wrap it up, that's why I'm really excited to be able to have my own show here on The Voice of Stockton to talk about the culinary world and bring people on so that the information could be put out in Stockton and what makes the culinary scene here so great in Stockton.
Yeah.
So, without any further ado, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Ken Albala. I'm a professor at the University of the Pacific. And I do food history, which is the logic of why I've been invited, I assume.
Yes.
So you want to talk about food?
Yes. yes. So, what are you originally from Stockton?
No, I'm not. I'm from the East Coast. Born in Brooklyn and grew up in New Jersey and lived in the Bronx before coming here. So that was almost 25 years ago. You know, I got a job at the university, and that's the only job I've ever had. So I'm kind of stuck. And when people ask me where I'm from, now I say Stockton, because I am.
You say Stockton.
Yeah.
Do you ever break out Brooklyn? Do you just for the fun of it?
No, but my mother used to say butter. She had the thickest accent. Yeah.
Butter. I say butter too. Butter. My grandmother, I have a Louisiana-born grandmother, so butter.
Yep.
That's the correct way of saying butter. Yes, and we cook with butter too.
Yeah.
Yes. So before you came to Stockton, were you in the food, the culinary world?
No, I've never worked in a restaurant, never cooked at all professionally. I just happened to have done my dissertation on a food topic, and so I figured I needed to write about something I really loved and wouldn't get bored with, and so I started writing about food and have not looked back since then.
So what was the first thing that your memory of food growing up?
My first memory, gosh, I don't know. I remember my grandmother cooking a lot. She was short and had big jiggly arms, and I remember her. You just mention a food, and she would have to cook it immediately. Whatever it was, and she was, family was from Smyrna, from Turkey, so there were all sorts of wonderful things she made. And that's all. I only remember her in the kitchen, actually.
Yeah. So, do you have like a favorite food that you grew up with, or?
She made these like kind of spinach pies that were like spanakopita, with feta and spinach bound with egg, and she'd make them in dough, so they'd be like little round things called bollos. So it was for breakfast.
Yes. Alex knows that I make those, huh, Alex? I make those. I don't make those the traditional way. I make them using the croissant dough.
Yeah, it's good. I like making phyllo dough from scratch, though. I've done it a few times, and it's really much easier to work with than the stuff that's frozen, I think.
Yes, it is. And it also depends on the temperature as well.
It does. And you have to be patient stretching it, because it's, you put it like a big towel or over a big table, and you need 2 or 3 people to pull it.
Yes. And I have my children for that.
That's good. That's the reason to have children, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So you started off your dissertation talking about food. Now you have 25 books. Yep,
that's right. And they range all over the place. Some are academic monographs, some are encyclopedias, some are single subject food books. I've written about beans, about pancakes, about nuts.
Okay, pancakes, stop. We have to stop, huh, Alex?
Alex. Did a little book on pancakes.
Yeah, we have to stop. Stop. Pancakes. We love pancakes.
Really?
Right, Alex? Yeah. Last week, we had a pancake artist on. I'm sure you've seen Chef Jasmine. She does art pancakes.
Wow.
So we was infatuated with that, pancakes. So, yes.
Well, I made pancakes out of pretty much anything you could think of making pancakes, and did them for breakfast for, I would say, about a decade or so.
Yeah. But yes, pancakes. Okay. And then your other books leading up to this one?
Oh, gosh. A few cookbooks that were about things that are difficult and dangerous. So, like curing meat and making cheese and baking bread and things. And I guess I just really liked writing cookbooks. Once you get tenure, you can kind of write whatever you like, which is nice. And so the latest is on noodle soup, which just came out in January.
So we will be talking about that a little bit later. Right now, give them your information, how they can contact you.
You can contact me at the university just through email if you like, or I'm on Facebook. I have a blog, which is Ken Albala at blogspot.blogspot.com. And all my books are on Amazon.
All right. So let's talk about being a food historian, which I'm very excited about. And the reason why that I am excited about that is because of the background that I have. My background is kind of all over the place. I have Middle Eastern, I have a Southern culture, California cultural, and within that, the Middle Eastern part, there's the Jewish part, then there's the Italian part of that, and the Southern Italian part of that, and then the California is obvious. California is like a mix and mash of everything from Latin food to Chinese food to sushi to now vegan food. And then also growing up in the South with my Louisiana grandmother, there was Cajun, Creole, different foods mixed from France, from Portugal.
Yeah, well, I would say, Louisiana is probably the best example of a ridiculously wide number of cultures that are mixed right on the plate. I mean, look at a jambalaya or a gumbo. I mean, it's literally French and African and Caribbean and Spanish and English and Native American and, Italian and everything, like thrown together in a wonderful way.
Yes, and everyone has the best gumbo. There's like, I kind of cringe when I see people, we're going to have a gumbo cook-off. And I'm like, no.
Well,
no
deciding which is best is ridiculous. I mean, that's true of any food. Make it the way you like it and eat it.
Exactly. As long as you have a good roux.
Yeah, that's right.
And the gumbo could be done in so many ways.
That's right. In fact, the best gumbo I've ever had was at the hands of, you know who Leah Chase is? She owns Dookie Chase. Well, she served me.
I stood in line 3 hours to get there.
I met her, which was really nice. And she gave me some gumbo zerb, which was unbelievable. It was like green and fresh, and just the flavor was unbelievable. And it was vegetarian.
Yeah, and I've had vegetarian gumbo. I've also had gluten-free gumbo before too.
So how do you make a roux? I guess you'd use some other starch.
Well, there's arrowroot that
Mm-hmm.
you can do to make, a roux.
Yeah, but if you cook that a long time, it loses its thickening power.
Well, the thing is that you add it to the broth.
Yeah. I get it. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
So the thing is that you have to change the entire structure of how you do
I get you.
Yeah.
Do it backwards,
so instead of doing the roux, adding the liquid
That's
to
right.
it.
And it's the same thing with noodles. If you make a noodle out of wheat, you're kneading and adding cold water. It's exactly the opposite if you use a starch to make a noodle. You're adding hot water, and you don't need it. You just put it together and then extrude it or roll it, and it's done the opposite way.
Yes. So, food historian, what is like your specialty? Do you do the American food?
I do Renaissance Europe. That's what I was trained to do. So, I had a training in kind of intellectual cultural history of pretty much everywhere in Europe where I could read the languages. And decided to start working on nutritional theory from that period. So that was my first book, which is Eating Right in the Renaissance.
Okay.
And then kind of moved into...
Eating Right in the Renaissance.
That's right, yep.
How did that go?
It was fun. It was, I can't believe... I mean, it was a really hard book to write because it was, the research was in 6 or 7 different languages. Yes. And I had to read about 100 books, written 500 years ago. So that was, I just basically parked myself for 3 years in a library and read them all.
Yes.
And it's a kind of dubious distinction to be the expert on Renaissance nutritional theory in the world, but I am.
That would just be hilarious. I mean, I think I would probably take about 5 minutes for me to really think about it first. I mean, so was it like a lot of carrots involved, or?
No, I mean, it's as complicated and as crazy as our own nutritional theories. And there are fads and, ideas that seem completely insane now. I mean, they for example, didn't think most people should eat fruits and vegetables. They're bad for you.
So, that's interesting.
That is interesting, huh? Okay, and then what is the second piece of your food historian?
Oh gosh, well I just kind of wandered from there into writing about cookbooks, and then have done a handful of things about Renaissance food, banqueting. I did a book on fine dining in the Renaissance.
Yes.
And how to throw a banquet, how to organize a kitchen, how to, food management, basically, which was a lot of fun to do. And then, sort of veered off into regular cookbooks from there.
I imagine, like we see the pictures, the Renaissance, the kitchen. There's lots of great movies that talk about
the movies often get it wrong. I hate to say, when you see like a Renaissance banquet and there's tomatoes on the table or potatoes, you go, oh my God, what have you done?
This is off the topic, but I can't think of the name of the movie or the actor. He's a French actor, and I remember watching one of his movies. He was a famous
Gerard Depardieu.
Yes!
Right. So which did you see? Was
the
it
one with the fish? The fish wasn't delivered on time.
This is Vatel. It's a great movie, and it's a true story. It is absolutely true. They took a little artistic license with it because they made it into a love story, which it really wasn't. But the story itself, he was serving the brother of the king, the Prince de Condé, and expected to have to serve a roast, and there was not one roast on one table, and he was really disconsolate about all this. And the next day he ordered tons of fish, and one barrel comes in, and he says, "This is it. This is all the fish there is." And they said, "Yeah, this is it." And so he went up into his room and ran himself through with a sword and died.
And just the next day, the fish came. All of the fish came.
Right.
It was like, and the crazy part about it is that, Alex, they still had to serve the dinner.
Oh yeah, of course, because the king was visiting, right?
They still had to serve the dinner, and he missed the dinner.
That's right. Yeah.
And it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's a classic food history story.
And it turned out great. And the king was happy. And then he wanted to meet him. And they were like fizzing around like, he's dead.
Yep. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, among all the stories in food history, most of them are not true. This one happens to be at least partly so.
And it's funny because I never knew that I thought it was. I didn't think that was true. So it is true.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that makes it more interesting. Yes. So when I think of Renaissance, that's one of my go-to movies that I.
That
think
is
of.
actually later. It's after the Renaissance. But
Okay. Yeah.
It's late 17th century. But,
okay,
same.
well, give me a pass.
Okay, yeah. You get the periodization a little off, and I grade you down a little.
We're going off on the clothes, okay? Yes, thank you so much. Yes. So UOP. So you said that you came here to UOP.
That's right.
For a job. Was that about food? Or?
No, I was hired to do Renaissance history and Western Civ and freshman seminars and things like that. And it's funny you should ask this because yesterday a former student of mine asked a question because my whole food history course that I teach you can hear for free. It's on iTunes.
Okay.
It's from the Great Courses Company. It's a podcast basically. And it occurred to me that it was 20 years ago that I started teaching food history as a kind of special topic, and my colleagues were like really suspicious. They thought this is not a legitimate topic. This can't be serious. And they'd let me do it, and I had a couple of students, and it went fine. And then I just waited till they all retired, and I said, I'm teaching this. I'm making it a GE course, so I taught it this semester to about 60 students. So it's a big class now.
Yes, it's and it's great to know. One of the things about when I went back to culinary school, and it took me 3 years to complete the culinary course at Delta, which is a longer time, is because I wanted to take all the classes.
That's great.
That they had. I wanted to take every single class that they offer, and I tell people that going to culinary school, it won't teach you how to cook.
That's right. You have to be in the kitchen. Well, I have to say the best experiences I've had are teaching a food history course in a kitchen.
Yes.
Like when I can do it and have working kitchens and all the students have a station and we can then taste recipes from a few hundred years ago. That is so much fun because, when I have a big class and I'm talking about food, I really, you without tasting it, you don't really know what was it that people liked and why did they like things different than we do. And, the cooking styles are different and the ingredients are different. And being able to do it in the kitchen is wonderful.
Do you find that American culture have adopted a lot of the European?
Gosh, no. We don't eat the way Europeans do. I mean, Americans, what we like the most is things you can eat with your hands. Pizza, which is very different from in Italy. They eat with a knife and fork there.
It's a very different.
And hamburgers, which you really won't find in Germany, in Hamburg, and things, I think American cuisine is its own entirely different thing.
So we took it and spend it and
there's a lot of influences, I mean, obviously all the different immigrant people who've come in the past several hundred years have contributed, but that's a good thing. I like the mix up and I like the the diversity of different flavors you have is wonderful, and I think Stockton's a great example of that. Right?
I think the biggest diversity, and it probably not going in your book, but when you say noodles, a lot of people think spaghetti.
Well,
and you can find spaghetti in every single American culture. Is that right, Alex?
Everyone eats it.
Every single birthday party, baby shower that I've ever gone to, there is a type of noodle.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different kinds around the world, and you can basically make a noodle out of anything.
Yes.
I mean, we tend to think wheat or maybe rice noodles, but any kind of starch. So beyond arrowroot, corn. I've made noodles out of acorns, out of oats, rye, sweet potato. I mean, there's a million different kinds. Some of them are traditional and some not, but they're all fun to do, and you can do them at home.
Yes. What about, I know that this isn't a noodle, but just growing up in the Bay Area and eating it, the Chinese, where they crack the egg and they scramble it and put it in a hot bowl.
It's egg drop, yeah, it's good.
I just thought about that.
There are noodles that are very close to that,
Yes.
though. The ones, like if you were to mix some flour in with that, you get something very close to spätzle.
Yes.
And if you in fact, I've done it where you put it into a Ziploc bag,
Yes.
and the batter, and you snip off the end, and you just squeeze it into the water, and you get this wonderful noodle out of it.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I usually make that around the holiday season. Yes. Well, boil a chicken and then strain it.
Yeah.
And then make it from there.
That's
yes.
absolutely right.
Okay, anyway, categorize.
We're making
my
ourselves
foodiness.
hungry here, right?
Yes, so let's veer off a little bit, and you took us to Europe, and then we came back to America. So can we go to Rome now?
We can. I like the city a lot. I mean, I would say of all the places I've been in the world, Rome is pretty much my favorite city. And I did research there. I worked at the Vatican for a while,
Yes.
over summer doing research for the banquet book, actually. And I've been back a few times, but this summer I'm teaching a hands-on class on the Via Salaria, just a couple of miles outside of downtown, which is a Roman villa. And they have, Roman ruins on the property. And I think we'll have about 15 people, something like that, and who are staying in the villa and cooking and eating things that stretch from about the 4th century AD, from Apicius all the way up to Marinetti, who's early 20th century.
So this will be in June.
Yes, this is in June. It's sold out. I'm sorry to say. If you're interested in coming, sorry about that.
I'll work. Like, can I go and work? I'll work.
Come and visit if you want.
I will work. I have no problem with working.
Well, the people there are doing the cooking, so
Yes.
that's the whole idea. So it's
Yes.
hands-on.
So this
cooking
is
class.
the Taste of Rome culinary workshop that you can find on Facebook.
Yeah.
Your Facebook, because you give them that information.
That's all you need. Just look for that. Yeah, Taste of
Yes.
Rome is what it's called.
And I saw the June classes, which is already sold out. So basically, it's a workshop where everyone
And it's actually a
can come.
food history class. I lecture also, and I will probably be doing it next year. The location moves each year, so I did it last year in Valpolicella in a Palladian villa, and I don't know where it'll be next year. We'll see.
Yes. So, okay, so I get this a lot. Just a side pause. I get this a lot. People ask me, they say to me, my food palette is so vast. How do you narrow down the types of food that are your favorite or your go-to food? And a lot of people, they are very surprised when you give them an answer because they think, well, how can that be if you had so many different types of food? So, like for me, my palate, I tend to go to salty and savory types of food, which is kind of weird because I'm a pastry chef. But often when people come to me and they get pastries, they're not so sweet. It's not as sweet as they expected it to be. And I say, I'm not a dessert maker. I am a pastry maker. You're not going to get the super, super, super sweet, which I can do.
But you don't crave it.
But I really tend to go to the saltier, savorier types.
My palate is entirely salty and sour. So like you give me a lime on something, I'm happy. Anything and salty and smoky, and that's I've been on a kick lately of fish, mostly for this trip I did.
Fish, huh, Alex?
Did a trip to Japan in the fall, and I'm going again in August. And man, I love their breakfast. It's just like a bowl of rice and some fish, like that's dried or grilled or something like that, and a couple of pickles on the side, and it's the salty sour combination that is really just wonderful. In fact, I had, was it yesterday or so, I had a smoked trout wrapped in a burrito with some vegetables and things, and it was like that was a great breakfast.
That was a good breakfast, huh? I think me and Alex have to upgrade our foodiness.
Yeah.
Yes, that is wonderful. This is it. As you were talking, I was imagining myself, if I get a craving, then this is the country I'm going to go to. So if I get a cookie crave, I'm like, oh, Alex, we're going to go off to Sweden or Switzerland and get some chocolate and then come back. Would that be wonderful?
It is. I hate to say that I do it, but I do. I'm actually going to Switzerland this summer on a whim.
Yes.
And just because I thought, doesn't fondue sound really good? And so I have to go.
Yes, great, wonderful. And then when you go, you might be inspired to come out with the new cookbook.
That's right. Well, I'm not sure what I'm going to write about next, but I have been doing this thing. You might see me around town. I walk with wine every day, which means I get a little container that's not obvious what's in it. And walk around.
The red cup.
That's right. Well, no, it's like hydro flask kind of thing, and not more than a glass in there.
Real quick.
But
just real quick, Alex.
Yes.
We have to upgrade. Did you hear what he said?
I did hear what he said.
We said red cup.
Well, you know why? It keeps everything cold, and it's literally 24 hours. You could put ice in there, and a day later it'll still be ice, which is great. And Stockton is a great town to walk around. I've done. I don't think there's a corner of Stockton I haven't been to. In fact, I've walked from here to Lodi, so it's there's nice routes and it's pleasant, and walking downtown, there's gorgeous old houses, and the neighborhood we're in here, right off the mile.
Yes.
You could just wander up and down, and I go to work this way every morning and walk back every afternoon, and it's I put in about 10 miles a day, which is fun. It's just getting a book out of this. I'm not sure how to do that yet. Well, I'll figure it out, I hope.
Yes, I understand. A lot of people, no one knows this. I said I'm in my final stages of my cookbook.
Oh,
right
cool.
Now.
On what?
Cannolis.
Oh, wow. Well,
duh. Cannolis. I've written.
So if you're speaking Italian, you'd say uno cannolo. And cannoli is already plural. So cannolis is like saying spaghettis.
Okay, so
it's cannoli.
So
it's already plural.
Here it is. I've gotten a lot of flack.
This is Italian people who always correct me. That's why.
Oh, I've had the Italian ladies after me.
Oh my gosh,
Alex,
really?
At my bakery. Yes, that is a whole nother story. I've had the grandmothers come to my bakery. No, seriously.
And tell you you're doing it wrong?
No,
correcting you.
Actually, I was scared. I was really scared.
I know the feeling.
I was scared. It was for them. I'll tell this story later. I was really scared.
Well, this is a serious issue, though.
Yeah.
Honestly, are people who make food that's not from their background.
Yes.
What legitimate authority do you have doing it? If it's not, and I've heard people, ask me, what you're this white guy, why are you making Asian noodles? And this makes no sense.
I'm laughing because I understand.
And and I'm not Italian, but I cook a lot of Italian food too. And I say, honestly, it's the respect and the knowledge and the understanding of it. And I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm saying here's how I like to do it. If you like it, try it, taste it. It may be good. But the issue of cultural appropriation is. It's something I don't think can be dismissed because, when you have someone who can open a nice restaurant and serve Mexican food when people who are Mexican have just a stand or a truck, then there's something unequal, unfair about that.
Here's the thing with me. It's obvious who I am. The Bay Area, there are lots of people that have different ethnic backgrounds that make and eat lots of different foods. When I worked at Google, we would sit at the table, and I will see a person from India. They will be eating vegan food, and the Mexican person be eating macaroni and cheese, and the Caucasian person be eating Japanese food.
Yeah, well, obviously our tastes are completely universal.
Yeah, so from being from the Bay Area, I am used to seeing Caucasian people cooking soul food. Really? I am used to seeing Mexican people roll sushi. Like, this is a culture for us.
Right,
because,
but when that person says, "Oh, here's how it should be done," don't you think
that.
wait a minute, this is my background. I've been doing this for years, and so have my grandparents. And then I think legitimately sometimes people just mess it up, or they play with it and they say, "This is what I'm doing, and I don't care about your tradition."
Yeah.
And that's just disrespectful, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. But my cannolis are
okay, good. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying I'll have to taste one.
You can, and you will taste one very soon because before grandmothers anointed me.
Do you use ricotta or pastry cream? What do you put inside?
That's my business.
Okay, well, I need to know. I'll taste it. I'll be able to figure it out.
When I publish the book.
Okay, I'll look for it.
You look for the book and then you let me know. But I make 30 different cannolis. Okay. I have 30 recipes.
So here's the question. Why don't people do savory ones?
People do. Yeah, I've had savory cannoli before.
Really? Mm-hmm. Sounds like a good idea to me.
It's a great idea. That's why I do 30 recipes.
Okay, cool.
Back to my interview.
Okay.
But yes, you know what? I'm happy that you brought that up because another thing is growing up in Louisiana. That's another thing in Louisiana is that it's hard to tell when I was growing up because everyone is Cajun, everyone's Creole, which are two different things, and they all are different,
totally different
backgrounds. The Cajuns, a lot of the Cajuns that I grew up with in Louisiana were from Canada.
Right. Well, more than a century ago, but yeah.
Exactly. And then a lot of the Creole, they will call them the Geechees, which were the black Indians. And then you had the Creole, which some of them were Native American, Spanish, Portuguese. And they all shared the same type of food, like you said earlier. So I think for me having that experience growing up in a cultural diverse like that, and then growing up in the Bay Area, which is very culturally diverse, when I discovered the cannoli when I was in the 5th grade, and that was something that I gravitated to. And when I became a pastry chef, that's something that intrigued me to make because it's very intricate. I don't see anyone making it. And that's something that I've loved since I was 10 years old. I never really thought about, the black girl making a cannoli. It was right. I'm good at it. Right. This is what I do because I saw my Creole grandma make spaghetti.
Exactly.
I'm to see people make pizza.
Well, here's the other thing. Italian food is American food now. Yes. And it's changed here, like everything. Chinese American food is not the same as it is in China. Mexican American food is not like Mexico. And that's a good thing, when these cuisines have evolved and they've become their own thing entirely.
Yes. What is one, speaking of that, this off question, what is one food in your experience that you see quite often that has remained original, in its form?
Gosh, there's a lot of things. There's a weird phenomenon that happens with immigrant cooking that sometimes a dish will come to the United States and the families who make it don't want it to change, and so they keep doing it the same way and the same way and the same way over and over again. And then when you go back to the homeland, it doesn't exist there anymore. They've evolved and they've gone past this. The best example of this is spaghetti and meatballs. If you take spaghetti and meatballs to Italy, give them the idea, they find it abhorrent. They say spaghetti is one course, that's pasta, meatballs are separate. You don't put them together. That's crazy. That's like it just upsets them, the whole idea. And they say, stupid Americans, you just throw this stuff together. But in fact, it existed 100 years ago in Italy.
Wow.
People used to make it, and they just don't do it anymore. But it exists here as this weird kind of rudiment from the past.
Okay.
And there's a lot of dishes like that don't. I think the other good example is lutefisk, which is this strange. It's cod, but it's cured in lye, so it smells like ammonia, sort of, and you soak it, and it's eaten on Christmas. And you can find it in Scandinavia, but most of it is manufactured in the Midwest now, where the people who's descended from Scandinavians live, and that's where most of it comes from. And they export it back to Norway now, which is really amazing.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and get a break real quick because we've been talking and talking and talking. And so I want to come back and I want to talk about the book. Noodle, this conversation is great because Noodle has its own history.
It does, sure.
Yes. And a lot of people, they argue about it. So this comes from China. This comes from Italy.
We'll settle that.
Okay. Thank you, Professor. So we will be right back. We're going to go ahead and get a short break. Please join us back, Chef Tobias Cooks with Kitchen Conversation, thevoiceofstockton.org. Please join us back for our final conversation, and we're going to talk more about the book, Noodle
Soup. Noodle soup.
There you go, Noodle soup.
Yeah.
Forgive me.
Yep.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
The importance of your house number is critical to the future of your recovery and health. The longer the response 911 response times are directly related to improved 90-day recovery. 10,000 lives a year could be saved as a result of a 1-minute time savings. Save a minute, save your life with reflective house numbers. For more information, visit readyforrescue.com.
This program does not reflect the views of KXVS management or KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
This is Timothy Hawley, and I am the voice of Stockton.
Da 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 da, shabba da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da dee da do da da da, shabba da dee da da da, shabba da be da do da da da, shabba da be da da da, yeah, shabba da dee da, Tobias Cooks.
Hello, Chef Tobias Cooks is back with Kitchen Conversation here, the voice of Stockton.org with
Ken Albala. You let me say it so because no one knows how to pronounce it, right?
Yes, I love doing that. Yes. And again, where can they find you at?
They can find me online anywhere pretty much, and all my books are on Amazon.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much. We had a really great conversation during our break, and so let's just continue it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about noodle soup.
Yeah, well, this was a fun book to do. It was really an accident. I don't really choose the topics that I write about. They choose me. And this one was just, I was teaching in Boston and had a really nice, sweet apartment in a dorm and no utensils. There's nothing in there, like not even a fork. And I thought, oh my God, I'm not spending 6 weeks here and without cooking. And so I bought a little pot and I bought some ramen noodles. And I thought this will be okay for breakfast. I don't know. And I don't know why I'd never really eaten ramen before, but I just tried it and it was like, oh my God, this is great. Revelation. And started adding vegetables to it and then started adding, shrimp and meat or whatever and thought I can make the noodles myself, can I? Why am I using this instant stuff with a little packet of chemicals? And just never stopped. And after about a month or two into this, I thought, I guess I have another book topic. I guess this is happening. And the Walking with Wine project also, it's the exact same thing. I just thought, I've been... I wanted to get some exercise and I didn't really want to cut into my drinking times. So I started walking around Stockton and walking in interesting places, and it was just like, oh, this could be a book. This would be fun,
Yes, I can imagine Walking with Wine could take off to some, especially your travels.
If I got like a good website and some merchandise and get a place where people there is actually a Facebook group that I started called Walking with Wine. Join it. It's anyone can join. It's right there.
All right, Walking with Wine 209. You have something to do. You heard it. So noodle soup. You have close to over 1,000 recipes.
Well, no, I did this for 1,000 days.
Oh, wow.
So for 3 years or so. There's about 100 recipes or so in the book. And some of them are like really, really easy basic techniques, how to roll out noodles by hand, how to make extruded noodles and other kinds. And then they just go off the deep end into complete craziness. So I made noodles out of crickets, out of Flaming Hot Cheetos.
I like the Flaming Hot Cheetos one, Alex. I saw that one on your page.
Yeah, it just went crazy after a while, but so it got to the point where people on Facebook were like goading me into trying, whatever crazy thing I could put in there. But the thing that I discovered in the course of doing this is vegetables in noodles work really well. I mean, like taking the vegetable, dehydrating and grinding it, and then mixing it with the flour. So you get beautiful colors. The flavor is really intense. It's 1,000 times better than the, packaged carrot or spinach noodles, whatever. And, you could get... I've put artichokes into a noodle or fava beans or asparagus. And, when you taste like I hate to say it, but the asparagus pasta that they have at the festival is really dreadful. But if you put asparagus right directly into the noodle, it just tastes like asparagus, which is great.
Yes. And, I didn't have the asparagus noodle. I was too concentrating on the fried asparagus.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. So you mentioned a flour. I also work with different types of flours as well. The most unique flour that two of them actually, but one of them was the apple flour. I didn't know what to do with that.
You can. I've done fruit. I've done dried fruits also, like completely dried and then ground. But the thing about these flours is people don't realize this, that if you live in Stockton, you can find anything in the world. Yes. I mean, like, go to one of the big Asian grocery stores up on Hammer Lane, or go to one of the Mexican grocery stores that are around town, and you can find like anything.
Yes, you can.
In terms of flowers, and especially because there are traditional Asian sweets and noodles and things like that are made out of different kinds of starch, so you can find them there.
Yes. My oldest daughter is 25. When she was younger, she had food allergies.
Oh, gosh.
And so in order for me to stay out of the ER with her, she had gluten-free and vegan.
Yeah.
And at the time, we didn't know what was gluten-free. So I did spend a lot of time in Stockton in these different stores and markets and gotten to know people. So, yes, it is true. In Stockton, you can pretty much find.
You can't get anything, and I think between those, and the farmers markets and the really good, I do most of my shopping at Podestos just because there's great Italian ingredients there, and where else in the country can you find that stuff? Like really good Italian tipo doppio zero flour. It's like it's there on the shelf.
It is, especially the cheese. I go broke in the cheese section. Yes, I do. Yes. Okay, so the recipes. So do you think the noodle book, do you start with the base, like a broth, or?
Yeah, well, the way I sort of divided it up was into 3 different parts. So the noodle bases, and there's a whole section just on how to make noodles. The stocks, so basic stock, everything from chicken and beef and pork and shrimp and mixed to things like dashi stock and more complicated ones. And then the garnishes, which I think are just as important, whether vegetables or meat or whatever. And so I like to think of it as those 3 parts. And there's a long chapter on the bowls and the chopsticks you use and the kinds of materials and the whole kind of aesthetic and philosophy of soup, if you want to think of it that way. Because if you're going to do it right, I think make it look beautiful, make it visually and texturally appealing, use a contrast of different flavors and different textures and colors, and I think there's nothing nicer than a beautiful bowl of soup, really.
Yes. And I saw the one that you did with the tuna.
I did that just the other day.
Yeah. I thought that was fascinating. I wanted to go knock on your door.
Sure.
We got an interview, right?
Yeah. Well, that was. I bought the tuna at the farmer's market from the fish lady there, and salted it and cured it for about a week, so it gets really firm, and then just seared it on the outside very quickly and sliced it, and then put a dashi stock that I made myself onto it, which is this stuff called katsuobushi, which is dried skipjack tuna, which is shaved. I went to Japan to learn how to make that this fall, which was great.
Oh, wow.
And then I think I put some vegetables and some fresh rice noodles in there, and it was just really
and an
nice.
egg.
Yeah, and an egg on top, right? That's right.
Because I like hard-boiled eggs in my noodles.
Yeah.
Even my top ramen.
Yeah, I get it.
I will boil the egg.
I think they're better soft-boiled. I would have done that soft-boiled, but then it just messes everything up. And when you're trying to take a picture, you have to think, all right, am I going to get steam in this shot? Am I going to get egg yolk running all over the place? And so it's, setting up a shot. I did the photography in the noodle book, by the way. So, which, I don't really know how to do it. But,
you did an
but I
awesome
bought
job.
a camera and just figured it out.
I wouldn't have never known that. Absolutely, I wouldn't have never known that. That's great. And I like the detail.
Thanks.
Of it as well. And also, you were just explaining the dish, the one you did with the fresh tuna. And it seems like each component has its own flavor.
That's right. That's exactly the point.
So it doesn't
Right, and you can't just throw everything in a pot and expect it to look nice.
Let's talk about that.
I like arranging a dish, and I think if you think of a bowl as a landscape, and you have hills and valleys and rivulets, and some part is water, some part is dry land, then you get this really nice looking picture in the end. And I think you've got to match the contents to the bowl by season. In the winter you want something that's going to retain heat, like a big stoneware bowl crock. And actually I made the pottery in the book too. So that's but in summer you don't. You want something lighter, and so I use either wooden bowls. I think I used a wooden bowl for that, or melamine. I've got these cheap plastic bowls that look like Maiolica, and they're just easy to,
Yes, it's funny you said that, because usually in the summertime, I usually use the plate for my noodles. Like, just put it on the plate.
Yeah,
and
soup
then,
on a plate doesn't work, though.
No, not the soup, the noodle. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I usually do the noodle with the well, they will call it, it wouldn't have any broth or anything, or I will do, actually, with the noodle, I will drain, like the top ramen, I will drain all of the liquid off of it. Because I have kids, so it's kind of...
Yeah, it goes all over the place.
Yeah, especially like with spaghetti. Sometimes with the noodle, I'll just add a little bit of the sauce just to kind of coat it a bit, and then put it on the plate and give it to the kids. So in the summertime, I do that a lot, like you mentioned. And then in the wintertime, we would go into the bowl, the big bowls.
Yeah. And I think, you know, when it gets cold, when it gets hotter, cold soups work really nicely. And something that I don't think anyone has ever done is put noodles in a drink. Like, it's really nice, like fruit and cold sake and a couple of rice noodles. Or it's sort of the aesthetic is similar to boba, you know, because a boba is really a noodle.
Yes.
It's a little round tapioca noodle.
Yes.
And if you put some chewy noodles into like a martini, it's so good. It's like you're getting a snack while you're having a drink. You know, it's lovely. Kill two birds with one stone.
Would you do that? Would you do that? You'll
yeah,
try? As long as it doesn't have coconut, right? Yes. So often when people think noodle soup, they think chicken noodle soup.
Yeah.
So I love, actually, I appreciate how you are changing the perspective.
Well, you know, my son at any given point will say, I want you to make me noodle soup, and he expects me to do it from scratch right there and then, and I do. So that's the crazy part. But it's a world, I mean, I admit I buy cans, and they're around if you know, cooks on his own.
Yes.
But there's just a world of difference in flavor and texture, and you can get, you know, you're not putting out so much salt and whatever other flavor enhancers they add to the stuff in a can. And I think even like stock that's you buy canned, to make it yourself is so much more interesting, and you can taste the vegetables and the, you know, the chicken, if you've got a good chicken in there. Was you know, I think your palate kind of gets burned out if you eat a lot of processed and, you know, industrial food.
Yes.
So you really can't taste those things, and then you need more, and you need more salt, and you need more.
Yes.
You know, I think it just kind of ruins your palate in the end.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny you said that, because my children, the way that they, of course, are being raised, and how I was raised on just eating basic
real food.
Just eating real food, and it's the same thing in my house. My children, they just eat food. You know, it's not.
And you know, honestly, if you eat Doritos every day, you're not going to be
What's a Dorito?
You're not going to be able to taste a vegetable. You know, they're going to taste boring because they're not flavor enhanced, and they're not, you know, engineered to entice your palate, and you know. So.
I think that's something, because my 14-year-old, she takes fruit to school. Pretty much all my kids do. And we was having a conversation last week, and she had got about 6 apples and some oranges and pears. And I was like, what do you need all that for? She's like, well, my friends. Who are your friends? She's like, well, they were kind of, you know, and the story goes, they were kind of tripping out that she was eating fruit. So she was like, well, I'm going to take my fruit so they can eat fruit. So they always want to look at me eating fruit.
That's great.
It's crazy. One thing, and then we can stop about the noodle, that I found very fascinating is that a lot of people, they think a tri-color noodle, and they get the one in a box. You know what I'm talking about?
The rotini?
Alex, the green, the red. So when they actually see, like you said, a noodle that you can incorporate vegetables, and when you do noodles from fruit flour and tomato and things of that nature. So when they actually see, I did a pasta 2 years ago. I used the and I have it on my Facebook. I used the ink from the
cuttlefish.
Squid. Yes,
yeah,
from
it's
the
great
squid.
because it turns out black. It's
and when
just so beautiful.
Well, mine turned out gray.
Oh gosh, we use more of it. You know, it's hard to find in Stockton, but Bay Area you can find it. Or you can buy it online.
Yeah,
you know,
mine's turned out gray.
Yeah, use a lot.
Yeah, and then I did the eggplant one, and then I ended up doing the beet one. So yeah, and so what we did is now my kids love when I do our own tricolor noodle. They're
That's
like,
great.
Ma, do the noodle, do the color noodle, Ma, do the color noodle.
Well, you know the easiest one to do if you don't have a dehydrator and coffee grinder, which is all I use.
Coffee grinder, yes.
In the summer, put stuff outside. It'll dry. Slice it thin. I put it on the roof, and it dries out.
Wow.
Or just buy like a paprika. Will make a really nice red noodle. Just add it right in. Or herbs you can add right to the noodle.
Heavy cream.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
A little cinnamon up there.
That sounds fine.
White wine.
Yep.
Butter.
Exactly. Got it.
Yes, thank you so much for coming. I'm trying to just think that I cover every single thing, like my little notes here or something. I cover everything. Okay, so could you leave us with a tip? Could you leave the audience with a quick tip on noodle? Chocolate. What about chocolate?
I did do chocolate, and it goes great with like spicy food and pork. Like pulled pork, chocolate, and cinnamon and pozole. Anyway, last parting hint is don't think that noodles are hard to make. They're actually really easy to do from scratch. They're really affordable. They're much better for you, I think, if you make them for yourself. And it's fun. Like get your kids out and get messy with them. And children will generally eat whatever they've made themselves and are happy about it. And, I've done workshops with children, and I've seen people, even like the really complicated pulled noodles that I've done, I've seen children do it. So don't think that it's hard and like, I can't do this and I'm just going to buy a package. It's more fun to do on your own.
All right. I'm going to let you go, but one more thing popped into my head.
Okay, sure.
And it's going to be the longest interview. Okay, so bear with
fine.
me.
The longer you keep me, then I don't have to go back to grading.
Okay.
I keep you. That's fine.
So bear with me on the knowledge or the words of it because I don't know. But I've seen this on PBS because I love PBS. Where the Chinese, they will take the noodle. They will start off with like one.
So that's the pulled noodle that's done like that. The lam yam is really hard to do. I've worked on it for several years. I'm okay at it. I can do it. I can't get them really, really thin, but the key to that is you add a chemical called pengui, which is wormwood ash, and the alkaline makes the noodles a little slippery and it loosens them up. You don't need to do it that way. You can roll out the noodles and cut them individually and let them rest for 6 hours and pull them one by one. So there is a YouTube on video of me doing it that explains it all. It's about a 3-minute video or something like that. So go and look. It's just really easy. And people will say, that's not the traditional way to do it. And I said, no, it's not.
Just like the cannoli. Just like the cannoli.
Never claimed that. I'm not Chinese, obviously.
Yes.
But there is a noodle made like that called lam yam and in lagman in Western Asia. And I saw people in Eastern Europe do it also exactly that way. Just take a strip and go bang and just throw it in the water. And it's like, oh, wow. You're doing it this way. You don't have to do them all at once.
Is it true? Is it just one noodle?
No, it's not. You can do it as one noodle, and in the book, I've basically rolled a big coil, and then you pull and throw in the pot as you're pulling, and that's traditional. That's for New Year's. The long noodle is like long life, you know?
Yes.
But if you do individual ones, you can pull each noodle, and it takes 2 minutes. By the time you get them all in, they're cooked, and it's fine. It doesn't take a long time.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. This
was great. This was fun. I almost forgot we were talking on the radio.
Exactly.
I still got more stuff I want to talk about, especially the chocolate noodle. But anyway, yes, I think Alex and I will probably have to get together and do the wine walk with you.
That'd be fun, sure.
We have to buy our own
pass
flask,
this building every day.
Yes,
I do.
that would be wonderful. Now that would be worth taping, right, Alex? Okay, my mind just started working. Okay,
sure.
I'm gonna stop it. Stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
One more
See
time, introduce yourself, give them your name and where they can find you.
Ken Albala, University of the Pacific History Department, and all my books are online. So go to Amazon. It's the easiest place to find them.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you for taking out your time, your busy day, and coming on. Of course, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit more here and there. I'm going to call you up and send you an inbox. Yes, all right. Thank you so much. Chef Tobias with Kitchen Conversation. Also, thevoiceofstockton.org. Thank you so much. Enjoy your week. Remember, hello, May. Get out and enjoy Cinco de Mayo. Enjoy Mother's Day, Memorial Day. Am I missing a holiday in May?
I don't know. Walpurgisnacht. That just passed. That was May 1st.
Yes, it was May 1st. Hello, May. Yes. So I'm just real curious, Alex, for you. So where are you going to be making for Memorial Day?
I don't think I'm going to be here. I think I'm going to be in Europe for me.
We was trying to get an invite.
Yeah, I'm going to be, I think, in Wales with my son, hiking through the hills with wine, of course.
Yeah. Speechless. That could be a good birthday gift for me too, huh? Yes. All right, let's go ahead. Let's go. Thank you so much. All right, thank you.
This is Miriam, and you're listening to KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
You know what I got? I got a picture of his face with the little pillow on it, the sleep face, and we're in Chicago.
Are they already in Chicago? The one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
I wore a wig to school once, and they said no headgear will.
How did
spider web
was it
tights.
obvious that it was a wig?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was having
terrible
fun.
Wig.
See, this is exactly why we have them on the show, and this is what makes them fun.
You're listening to KXVS, the voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
The importance of your house number is critical to the future of your recovery and health. The longer the response time, the longer the recovery time. Faster 911 response times are directly related to improved 90-day recovery. 10,000 lives a year could be saved as a result of a 1-minute time.